say SpongeBob sucks, I will snap. We are familiar with horror icons in the SpongeBob realm, such as the hash-slinging slasher, the Flying Dutchman, even Schmitty Man, Jenser Man, Wormer, Menser, Henser, Benson, Fenson, Tenson. But SpongeBob just dropped a new Halloween special on Paramount Plus right now called Creepaway Camp. What up, y'all? Welcome back to Fandom of the Indie Review. I am your host, Marauding Camp Creep Dill. And today we're going to keep it light and nostalgic as we talk about the new SpongeBob episode. Yes, that is right. We are on the journey of 4,000 subscribers by Halloween Eve, and you guys have been crushing it by giving me support. And to all the people that have been watching too, don't worry, I haven't forgotten about you. You guys mean the most to me. But if you just love talking about nostalgia, horror, and all the spooky stuff in this world, and if you want to shun Squidward from Bikini Bottom so he has to go play his clarinet in the woods alone, come hang out. When SpongeBob, Patrick, and a bunch of other Bikini Bottom residents get a mysterious letter from their old Camp Coral for a reunion, they all jump on the bandwagon to go and celebrate. We see many old faces there, like Pearl, Mrs. Puff, who's the bus driver, Kevin, that prick from the Jellyfisher Club, Larry, and even that big fat dude that's like, you forgot the pickles. Even Mr. Krabs, but he's going there for a side mission because when they all got their little notes with old memories in it, including a letter, Mr. Krabs got one of his old nickels with a little PS, you have a bunch of money still left over, so he's like, hell yeah, I'm going there. And they all travel to the old mysterious Camp Coral that seems to be abandoned. Right out the gates, it's not that creepy. I mean, obviously it's SpongeBob, but even the episode they made like a year ago called like the Kelp in the Woods or the Cabin in the Kelp Woods or whatever, that one had more of an ominous vibe. This one's more abandoned and less scary. When they realize the jig is up and something seems quite off, they go to all flee, but then every option of escape hits them like a brick. The bridge explodes, the tires break down on the bus, the cave system collapses, so they're screwed and they're stuck there. If you grew up in the early 2000s watching SpongeBob like me, you realize that there is a stranglehold on some sort of wavelength about this man. I mean, you could be at work and you could just hear a friend randomly be like, my leg! Or you could be at the grocery store and hear, and a random person in line will be like, I heard when he wanted Mr. Krabs, he wanted the even
I'm ready.
It's just ingrained into all of us. So if you missed that social event, I'm sorry. So all the campers are back at Camp Coral, and there's one character that I found kind of interesting. His name was Harvey, and I didn't realize till I did some research that he is on a SpongeBob Camp Coral spinoff and the Patrick Show. It's really cool that they have a Camp Coral spinoff because that makes this episode more special for the kids that watch the Camp Coral series. And his name's Harvey. I don't know if I said that already. And he's kind of like delivers the lines through the audience eyes. He explains the horror tropes, what not to do. He says don't go off by yourself. He notices everything's ominous when no one else really does. He says don't go off in the woods and canoodle, which means get that grip.
I never canoodled, whatever that is.
And this episode is chock full of a lot of sexual jokes, very discreetly. I know SpongeBob always has been, but I've noticed him heavily watching this episode. As the campers are off playing volleyball or looking for food or having a good time, they start getting picked off one by one by a marauding camp creeper hiding in the shadows of the corally woods. And it's just a giant arm that reaches down and grabs them, and it's very cool and fun. Some of the main characters that are side pieces are Plankton and Karen. They're off in the middle of the sea wilderness exposing Chum, dumping Chum illegally because they didn't know what to do with it. Squidward got exiled from Bikini Bottom because he was so bad at clarinet that they kicked him out of town, so he went to find a refuge and solace at this old camp to practice. Obviously, even SpongeBob, Sandy, and the main characters, they don't think anything's going wrong, but Harvey's like, yo, something is wrong. A few of the notable kills that I'll talk about is they're in this little swamp area and Kevin gets pulled down underwater and his little cucumber hat starts floating back up, and I thought that was pretty visceral. Bubble Bath has a kill that is very reminiscent to Psycho, where he's in the shower getting showered and the killer sneaks up behind him and starts scrubbing his back. And he's like, too much cleanliness, and then gets dragged off. It's brutal. And there are a lot of characters that I've never seen before. I haven't watched SpongeBob in many years, but I think they're new characters. And it's just a fun episode, a big body count. So if you ever want to do a body count video for this, it'd be like an hour-long video. So yeah, as all these campers are getting picked off one by one, the sun starts to set, and they're all sitting around a fire, very scared. And Harvey's like, do not go off by yourself. Do not canoodle. Whatever you do, don't canoodle, which means get it on. And Plankton, the dog, him and Karen are like, we're out of here. We're going off to the woods. And Harvey's like, don't do anything I wouldn't do. And Plankton's like, you couldn't do anything like me, pussy, and then dips off into the woods. And then later, as they all split up more, we get a little jump scare of Mrs. Puff coming through the woods wearing a hockey mask and carrying a hockey stick, but she apparently used to be a hockey player, and she just found it, but she sees what looks to be Karen and Plankton getting on, and Plankton's like, oh yeah, first base, baby, and she's like, huh? And it just turns and he's playing baseball in Karen's face, which was pretty funny. This episode all around is pretty funny. There are some SpongeBob isms that, you know, are more catered for children that obviously aren't funny to me, but it's a great episode all around. Like, for a newer episode, it could be a classic. I really think that. There's also one creepy part too that I liked, with the little nurse fish that goes off into her abandoned cabin. She's like, wait, someone took down all the slashing utensils and scalpels and axes, and I'm like, oh, that's freaky. But then when you find out who the masked assailant is, it is a disturbing reveal, but also funny because it's SpongeBob. And spoiler alert, just warning you now, I'm going to tell you right now who the killer is if you don't want to watch it. It's this character named Elway, who apparently on the last day of Camp Coral, like 20 years ago, he got left behind and was left to fend for himself in the coral wilderness by himself. And the years of isolation and being alone made him crazy. And he decided, hey, I'm going to invite all my old friends back so they can come stay with me and have fun. He's this big, giant, creepy-looking, doofy fish. I mean, not creepy-looking, but he's funny, and he's clearly a little bit clinically insane, but the episode ends with happiness because it's SpongeBob. One of my favorite little cameos of the whole episode is our boy Nosferatu from the famous Night Shift episode, with a slash slinging slasher, with a slash slinging slasher, with a blash slinging blasher, with a slash slinging slasher runs amok. All in all, it's just a good time. It's a fun episode. You know, they try to be creepy with it. A lot of horror references and homages. A lot of funny little lines. SpongeBob just being goofy, but he wasn't too goofy in this episode, which I like. Sometimes he's off the hinge, like that Cabin in the Kelp episode. He was too far gone. This one, he's a little bit more rational. And there's a bunch of cool, interesting storylines along the way. Comment down below, guys, what you think about SpongeBob in general. Did you grow up with it? Do you fuck with it like I do? Or are you like, dude, come on, don't be a loser. A loser, a loser. Loser. What's your favorite SpongeBob episode? If you were watching this right now and you're like, I want this specific character to get picked off and killed first, who would you want it to be? Because Mr. Krabs doesn't deserve that. But alright guys, that's the video. Subscribe, give me a thumber, hit that ding-a-ling button harassing you, telling you, hey, it's me, I'm here, and I'm gonna say it one time for the one time and two time for the O's. Give me a hell yeah for horror. Come jellyfish with me sometime if you want to. SpongeBob, you rock.